So I'm going to record it this time. Okay. Who wants to tell me everything that I just said? Okay. We said that the first session and the second session are very, very important. Yeah, like we just went over it again. Because in the first session, when a man realizes he can make a woman happy and it's not the end of the world, it's not natural to him, but it's not the end of the world. It's just a lot of time and effort. And then he'll do his job. And if he'll do his job, which is making his wife happy, the 3 A's, then she has no reason not to believe that he's a good husband. And she's going to feel you're a good husband because you make me happy, and therefore I need to give you an ego stroke. Right? And we just said if she chooses him out of the 10 million men which are left in the world when there's no women left in the world, and she turns around and goes through every single one of them, sees everything, how happy that man could make her, and she turns to her husband and says, after all of that, I still think you are my soulmate, you're the one, then that's an amazing ego stroke. Come in, press hard, push hard. I think the other door's easier. Yeah, push that. We're in. Okay. So, are we going to go through it again now?
No.
Okay. So, if a woman would choose her husband out of 10 million people, right? And then say, you're still the one that I would choose if I had to get married again, that is the ego stroke that we're talking about. Okay? That's what we just said. And all the men are happy to hear that, because it's true. And women don't naturally know that men need that every day. In the same way that we don't naturally understand what's going on really in their heads, right, when we're trying to play our part and do the attention, affection, appreciation, right, but it's not natural to each other. So we have to learn that. And that's how Hashem made us. And that's what the Rambam we mentioned early on, to say that men and women are different, and therefore they used to be one creation, and he separated them into two creations. So they should learn to love each other. That's why he did it. He could have made them as one person with the same mind and everything would be natural. But it's not natural now. And so it's a lifetime's effort that every day of our lives we have to work hard at it to make it amazing. Okay? And marriage can be the most beautiful experience, and you can be married for many years and enjoy it, you know, and if we get to do the intimacy, and we've got time to actually go into some of those areas as well and see what the Gemara speaks about it, how years after Rabbanim were married in the Gemara, and you see things that in their private life, it's unbelievable to see that they had a life of marriage that was a maintained bliss. It was always there till their old age, contrary to what one would expect in terms of religious, you know, outlook, or what we think about, you know, the religious ways and whatever. Okay, so let's come on to today's topic, which is communication. Now, yeah, so just again, so we mentioned that again to finish off last week. I'm just going to go that one more time. Women, men really need those ego strokes, and I can't tell you how much you might underestimate the difference it can make to a man's life. He wakes up in the morning feeling he's a hero, and he doesn't. I mean, what I'm saying to you is, after last week's session, I spoke to somebody, just completely, someone non-Jewish, somebody totally foreign to our way of life, let's say, you know, a Jewish way of life, from Princeton Torah. And they got really offended when I said that her job was to make her husband feel like her hero. She was really offended. It got to like heated points of view. It's like, you are putting women down, making men into the superior party in their marriage because he's the hero, and what does she need a hero for? Well, she can be a heroine without the hero. She doesn't. So what does she need a hero for? So I said, well, you know, every romantic novel has this, you know, this milk tray man coming down like James Bond and rescuing her from some desert island. Yeah, we've had enough of that, you know. We've moved on from that now. The world isn't into that anymore, right? And they just couldn't hack it. And I said, well, what if the man needs that? What if every man, or how can you generalize and blah, 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 and these stereotypes are ruining our society? I was like, look, the bottom line is that the reality that we're living with is that it makes a big difference to men. And it doesn't mean men are better or worse. Even at the most bare minimum, I'll say the basic level, is that a man does the 3 things for his wife that she's going to enjoy. She can turn around and say to him, you're my hero just for that. And it's sincere and it's genuine. Because he put that effort in, and she will feel him. Why can't she be allowed to feel amazing? She's like, if I would do that, then I'll be doing something wrong. It's unethical. because I'm then helping society to make men into these heroes, which is a terrible, terrible thing. So all these families in the West are all having sad marriages because the man is not allowed to feel like a hero, and so he's never going to feel good about himself, and he's never going to feel good in the marriage, and disaster. Yeah. So here we've got a model that every man will agree. Yeah. If I feel like a hero, I feel like a husband. I feel amazing. I feel great. It can only be a good thing for the marriage. And what is she actually losing? Doesn't mean he's better than her. It means that she really feels that he's an amazing person in her life, and she feels having him there makes a difference, like a hero. Yeah. So I'm just saying the reason why I'm emphasising that again. I even got to this point where society would go against that. And what do they produce instead as a model for marriage? Nothing. The divorce rate is so high. Such a shame. Anyway, today's session is communication skills number 1, which is we speak different languages. Men and women speak different languages. Okay, it's another generalization, and every one of these generalizations, I'm telling you, helps our marriage, right? Because it doesn't matter that we know every individual's got their own individuality and all that. That's a disclaimer. We won't go back to that again anymore, right? There are things about men which will help us if we know the difference between men and women. One of them is the languages that we speak. We speak the same words. We pronounce them the same, can be with the same accent, but we do not necessarily mean the same things. We don't necessarily use the words to mean in the same thing as each other, right? And this causes a major problem in communication, right? The University of Chicago did a study that found 80% of all communication, of all the problems in the marriage are because of communication. Okay, so it means that obviously something fundamentally wrong, right, in the way that men and women are speaking to each other in terms of their understanding and their communication, because 80% of all these problems that they get in marriage is because of communication. So it's worth delving a bit deeper to see what it is about the communication. Is there something going on? Because it's happening to so many people in so many families every single day. There must be something that can be done to get around this problem, to solve this problem. Okay? So there is a handout which I forgot to give out. So I'll give it to you now so that you can follow what I'm going to be going into this evening. Please pass these around, please. Look, he so much loves the class, he brought his bed with him. Thanks. Nice to see you both. Okay, so the first thing about communication is the use of words. What is communication? People having a dialogue, two people, two parties, a minimum of two parties. I mean, if the man is just turned off his mind, his ears, that's not communication anymore. That's not a dialogue. That's just the woman talking at the man. Okay, I'm using that example because that could be a realistic scenario. Okay, so we explained before that women are relationship beings. Okay, so if a woman is a relationship being and she's communicating with another human being, what is she doing? She's making a relationship, because everything she does is making a relationship. She goes into the shop and she's at the till talking to the lady at the till that she always goes to that lady at the till. They have a relationship, and it's become about how are you today and how are your kids, and I didn't see you this week. I wondered what happened. You didn't come on Tuesday at the same time that you normally come. I would never do that with any till girl or any till man, right? So, but women will do that all the time. I mean, that's amazing. I go into a shop and my wife will know this person that's working at the till. I mean, everything is a relationship. Yeah. As a rabbi, I might get to know people in the community. So yes, how are you? Whatever. Generally, if going to a Jewish store, you've got Jewish people working there. There's something to talk about. Yeah. But it's not necessarily true by the average, person, man going shopping in a shop. To have to expect to know the person at the till, and if it's a man, I mean, what are you going to talk to him about? Oh, you've got the latest iPhone. What are you going to talk about? Yeah? How many air miles do you get on that card as you're putting it through? You could get a better loyalty card, maybe get a little better deal. That's it. Yeah. So when women talk, the purpose of the conversation, based on what we said until now, is what? To form a relationship, right? Now, if you want to form a really good relationship, should you spend your time saying one word, or 10 words, or 100 words, or 1,000 words? What would you say? The more words you use, the more relationship, right? And if that's what your goal is, that you're bonding with somebody by using words to communicate, you're going to use more words, right? You ever hear what's going on between two women on the phone, right? And they went to a wedding, which they were both at. It's not like they weren't there. They know everything that happened over there, right? The serviettes and the centerpieces and the flowers and this matched that and that matched that. And it's going on for half an hour. And the man's thinking, look, you could have just said, it was a good wedding, right? And put the phone down. The goal of the conversation is not to talk about what you already know in 700 different ways. Surely, I mean, how could that be a good... You tell me you've got no time for me. Oh, yeah, I'm tired from work and there's no time, right? And what, you got time to spend half an hour talking about nothing on the phone? Can you imagine a guy speaks to his dad on the phone? Hi, Dad. Hi, son. How are you? Had a good day? Had the family okay? Yeah, all right. See you, Dad. Yeah, peace. Imagine this. Hi, Dad. Hi, son. What are you doing this week? I'm going to a wedding. Really? Are you going to wear your grey tie or the one with the stripes or the polka dots? What shoes are you going to wear? The matching socks? Is it the Argyle ones or the flurry? Which man's going to do that with his dad, right? No one. No one's going to do that, right? Can you imagine that with your dad, right? But a woman with her mother, that's all they talk about. It's like, I can't wait to try this new outfit which I've got. It's like, and they'll talk about lots of different things in the conversation, and then suddenly the woman will say to the other one, so what do you think? And she knows through ESP, existential perception, exactly which part of the 1.5 hour conversation there was a question that was left open, right? And she's saying, yes, I think you should. And the man's saying, what are you talking about? How did you know? How did you know? What sixth sense have you got to know you're so synchronized with each other, right, that you know exactly what you're thinking of? And it was like, how comes you can't do that with me, the woman says to her husband. Why can't we have a conversation like that? Yeah? And he's like, oh my goodness, you're trying to put my head through a vice and turn it harder and harder and harder. Can you imagine for a man having to actually talk about the same thing so many different times, going round and round and round and round and round and round, around and round and round and round about it? Women love it. Men usually can't bear it. They can't handle it, right? It's like, what are you talking about? Just get off the phone. In the olden days where we had to pay for phone calls, this was a major problem between men and women every second. No. It's like BT, 5.2 pence a minute that used to be in those days, right? Today it's free, so at least that element's been had a bit of mercy on us, Otherwise there'd be a lot more arguments just about that. Okay, now the other thing is that a man's talking to a woman. Now imagine a man and woman are doing this together when they're talking. He's like, to the point, straight, direct, a few words. She's like, talk to me, and I want you to answer. Well, okay, but I told you the answer already, my darling, I told you the answer. Yeah, but, do you think? And then she goes, somehow the other manages to keep the conversation going and ask the same exact question again. And he said, but I told you, yeah, whatever you want is good for me. I love you, anything, my sweet. Just, whatever you want is fine. I'm happy with it. Yeah, but what do you think? And it just goes on. And the answer now is very simple, because she's connecting all what she's feeling and making a relationship with those words, right? So when women use words, they're using words not necessarily because of what the words mean, but rather to describe what they're feeling and how to share it with the other party that they're talking to. Which is completely different for men. Ask a man how are you, say, I'm fine. And what does he mean? He means I'm fine. Ask a woman, how are you? She'll say, I'm fine. Any idea what she meant? It could mean anything. It could mean I'm fine, had a great day. It could mean fine. You have a cheek to ask me how after what happened you think I'm fine. Yeah, I'm really fine. It could be fine. Leave me alone. I'm busy. I can't talk to you right now. Right? Fine. Just go away. Don't disturb me right now. Could mean anything. Yeah. But the truth is that word fine isn't a word that she's going to think, well, what does fine mean in a dictionary? And I have to use it exactly as it was said in the way that you understood it. This is often what men and women are arguing about. I have to use the word the way you understand it in the dictionary. This is what I wanted to say right now. That's what I felt. That's it. That's me. Accept me. Right? So women use words to describe how they're feeling. That's the first thing. Yeah? We all agree, I think. It's clear. I don't have to elaborate on that much more. We've got the point. But you see, when men and women don't know this, you can imagine the machloket, the arguments which can occur because of this. He's not thinking, well, you know, she used that word because something happened today and it's how she's feeling and this is what she means and all this stuff underneath it. He's like, why can't you just be clear when you speak, woman? Speak to, you know, what it means. Because that's what he wants to do because he's naturally geared to do that as a man. There's a dictionary. It's got a definition of words. And this is what the word means. So that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. Yeah. How many times have we heard people arguing in marriage, our parents included, but you said this, but you meant that. No, but that's the way that you said it like that. You didn't say it like that. Now you're changing it. See? You know that you're wrong. You know that you're wrong. You said it the wrong, right? And who cares? You know what? Okay, so let's go back and reverse and start again. What would you say now? Probably the same thing again, right? Because at the time it was said, she was saying it because she was just using words how she feels. He was looking at it as some kind of scientific study about what the word really meant and how to diagnose the problem and then try and solve it, right? And he can't work out how to solve it because she's not asking for a solution, which we'll come to a bit later on. Any questions on this bit? Yeah?
Just think how amazing that you as a man can say those things.
I had to learn this.
I know.
Look, I didn't invent it. I'd love to take credit for all the things that I know this, and I still make these mistakes with my wife. Every day. This isn't something you're born into. You have to work and work. And when you do it, you see it works, and when you don't do it, you realise, oh, okay, gotta go back to doing it. Because this is how our lives should be. And that's why we've tried to make a simple mechanic. The mechanics make it simple. He does his job, he does the 3 A's, she gives him the ego stroke. Doesn't do his job, she says, you know what, I think you've got the potential to be a great husband, but you're not making me happy because you're not doing the things that we learned in the seminar. Right, do them, and then I want to make you feel like my hero, because I want you to be my hero, right? So be my hero, yeah? And I think that comes a bit more needs to come from the women than the men.
Are there examples in the Torah, like you see the relationships between Abraham and his wife Sarah?
Absolutely. I wish we had time to go through all of that. Because you are looking as a man, as you've got a problem and you're looking for the solution, right? And there isn't one solution. There are different solutions for different situations and for different couples. I went through the Torah and the Tanakh and I found the word love, ahava, used in 7 different contexts. I don't know if you hear what I talked about it last week. And each one of them has a verse or a pasuk to do with the relationship between a man and a woman. Most of them, not all of them. And it's incredible to see how the relationships are completely different to each other. For example, the Zohar says that Rivka was in absolute awe of Yitzchak. She virtually never spoke to him all her life. That's why they never discussed which son was the good one, which was the bad one. And then suddenly she got up and said, no, you got to do what I'm saying. Hashem gave her the insight to go and save Yaakov from Esav. Why can't she just go and speak to her husband? Because he was like a Rosh Hashiva. They never spoke. They didn't talk. They didn't communicate that much. Right? It was a special kind of marriage. He was a perfect human being. I mean, he never left Israel, and he was all his life. He never did a sin. Yitzchak was a very special person. Okay, but that doesn't really reflect on our relationship so easily. If you look at that, Yaakov sees Rachel, and he goes and kisses her. She was a little baby, right? And he was totally both mesmerized with each other. They were besotted with each other. Unbelievable. They just had to get married. 7 years he worked for her. Another 7 years, right? How often does that happen to somebody? Yeah? But that's describing a certain level of love, a certain type of love, that's infatuation. Right? There's convenience, there's infatuation, there's a physical attraction. I said, Achashverosh saw Esther. He looked at her. It says, we mentioned last week, right? 6 months they were preparing her with all the cosmetics and the mega facials and all the nails and everything, right? And then she passes by him and he says, he loved her more than any of the other women. How could he love her? He didn't even know, he didn't know anything about her. And we all had said, no, there's no such thing as physical attraction, right? Being love. And the pasuk describes it as love. So yes, there are different models in the Torah, including bad ones, like Samson and Delilah, Shimshon and Delilah. You know, you can just sit. This is the convenience level, which is number 4 out of the 7. Okay, so it says that there was a woman, and there was Delilia, Benachal Shuruk, and he would go and frequent her, right? And describes her as a woman of ill repute, as a zonah. But he'd go to her. She wasn't. She was, she was Plishtim. He'd go to her and she'd feed. Imagine him lying there, and she's feeding him grapes, right? And trying to know his secrets about cutting his hair because she wants to destroy him and go into Goliath, right? And she manipulated it. Okay, but he was so comfortable in that relationship. He was so comfortable just being there that he just lost his he lost the plot. Yeah, and he did things which were wrong. And then eventually he regretted it. And you know the story of Samson. Yeah. So how did that happen? Because of a convenience relationship. I was once doing a program in a bar in West Hampstead years ago. We used to run the Emet singles, and we were just setting up. It should be called the Cane Bar. And this guy comes along, sees us setting up. He said, "Are you doing like a Jewish evening, a Jew do?" So I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah, we are." He said, "Oh, I'd like to maybe pop along." I said, "Okay." I said, "That's great." And then he says, "Yeah, just check out what's out there." He said, I said, "Really? Oh, so you're single?" He said, "No, I'm married." I said, "What?" Cheek, So I stood there on the road on West End Lane, right? And I spent like 20 minutes giving him this whole 7 levels of love seminar, right? And we got to number 4, which was a convenient relationship. And what happened? He was a business professional, she was, they fell with each other, their lives sort of felt very, very good, the parents liked each other, they sort of ended up together out of convenience, and they got married. And maybe a year later, they realised they didn't want to spend time, they weren't friends, they didn't become friends. The next level after that actually is friends after that. They never became friends. So he started socialising separately to her, okay? So they got stuck in that level. It didn't move on. So I'm saying to you, each model in the Torah of a husband and a wife or something, or an example of a man and a woman, is one aspect of love. But it has to move on from there. So yes, I could draw examples from the Tanakh, but it depends for what you want to use it. You understand? For example, often you go to Jewish shiurim, Torah shiurim about marriage, and they'll tell you, love comes after marriage. Yeah, they'll quote you all sorts of I don't want to mention any names because I respect, and it's true. But it's describing a particular type of the 7 types of love. There's one that comes only after marriage. And I'll give you the example, because it says, after Sarah died, Yitzchak, right, he saw Rivka, he married her, he took her into his tent, and he loved her. So when did the love come? At the end, you see? Yeah, but that's talking about the kind of love which comes of convenience and compatibility and all of that. You can't have that before you get married. You're not supposed to live together before you get married according to Jewish law. So you have to set a certain leap and then build a certain amount after marriage. That aspect comes after marriage, it's true. But there's also aspects that you have to have love from before marriage.
Rabbi, my grandparents have never called each other by their names, ever. And they've been together, ever.
Okay.
Until my granddad passed when he was 90. It's amazing. Never called each other names.
Okay, so just to answer that point, that you see there are many models, at different stages in our relationship. It develops. It's not static. Each one has its own point to look into. Okay, so men and women are having conflicts of communication, right? Misunderstanding each other. So we explained one area which is an issue, which is a woman doesn't get to the point. The man being a bit negative about women now, right? Men are like, get to the point. My wife feels that every time she speaks, she used to say to this, every time I speak to you, the clock is ticking. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, and it's second up, it's gone. How can you have a relationship like that? Okay, so I had to start doing it and not showing her that that's what I'm thinking. She's like, I know you're thinking that. But has it got anything to do with how much I love her? No, nothing to do with that whatsoever. It's the communication problem. Okay, so here's one thing. Actually, I'll come back to this after. That's one thing we've dealt with is about the use of words in that way. Okay, another issue which is linked to this, or an extension of this, is details. Women love to use details, right? Typically, So many details, right? You like start talking about something, it seems totally insignificant, and it will turn into some, you know, issue and become bigger. And then it will explode. And it's like, we were sitting outside so-and-so's wedding 15 years ago, and that's when it started. And you were wearing this, and it was outside the shop, and there was a sign, and so-and-so person passed by, I still remember, and there was a smell of jasmine in the tree. And you said whatever it was, yeah, and I can never forget it. As well as the other 10 billion pieces of information which seem irrelevant. Yeah. Why is that? Because that's how women are. They are relationship beings, and therefore they connect to things, and the details. I can't believe the things that my wife remembers. It's like unbelievable. She'll tell me something, I have to ask her to. It's like a database. You know? It's just incredible information. See, I mean, I don't think I've got a bad memory, but sometimes she just shocks me. You know, she comes out with something. It's like, how did you remember that? That's so insignificant, right? Why would you even? How did that connect to what was going on at the time that you remembered that? But that's typically what women are like, and it's good in this sort of setting to realise that even if men can do that because they're gifted with photographic memories, they don't get any pleasure out of doing it necessarily. It's just, you know, it's not something natural that men will recount this information, unless you're one of these people that memorize telephone books in the telephone directories or something, which we don't even have anymore, right? But do you see what I'm saying? I'm saying that therefore, when a man is talking to a woman and she'll start throwing this information, we'll see how this is really important in the next session. Because it becomes so much information, it just like zzz, just goes past you, right? And you can't process that information after a while because there's too many details. And this is so common in so many men. You know, example I've given so many times. Go to Kosher Kingdom on Thursday night and see the men with the shopping lists, right? And they're ringing their wives while they're doing it. Did you say this or did you say that? And they come with the wrong one anyway. My dad's 52, 3 years married, and he still comes on with the wrong items every time, right? Why? Did she tell him what to get? Yes, she did tell him what to get. So why didn't he hear? So, without blaming him for the moment, right? Because it was just overwhelmed. He was overwhelmed by so many other things that the actual message got lost in there somewhere. I know women look at me like, that's a lousy excuse. It's not true, right? But we have to be polite because we're in your house and you're the rabbi and whatever. I'm telling you, give them the benefit of the doubt for a few minutes, yeah, and hear this out, because it really is very, very significant. There's just a lot of information coming at the man, and he can't process it like you, and you assume so much. Women just assume so much that men already know, and then blame them for those things when they didn't really know them. And that's a problem. And that comes because a woman's very good at remembering the details. So why can't you also remember them? It's so simple. Okay? So now, assuming that he doesn't know the details, and you're trying to tell him the details, how much can he digest at one go? Right? Remember, the milk is the red top, not the blue top. Remember, the cheese is the blue top, but not the one. It's like, but after a while, it's like, sure, I'll just go to the shop, make her happy, I'll ring her again, you know. Anyway, let her say what she wants now, because anyway, I'm going to have to ring her afterwards, because I don't know what she's talking about, right? And then he'll go to the shop and he'll ring her up, and she'll do the same thing again on the phone. But I told you, tell you what she told you then. She told you what you should have remembered. She'll tell you what you have to remember now, and then she'll tell you what to do. So you've heard it 4 times, and by the end of the first time, you turn off. The man turns off. So she thinks, if I'll say it another 10 times, there's maybe a bit more chance he'll do it. And each time she's saying it, there's less chance that he's going to remember it, because it becomes more words and words and words and words, and then somewhere in there's something really important, and I'm going to get in trouble for it. It's true or not? You see, we've seen it in others, we've seen it in ourselves. Yeah. So the answer, the solution now, we need some solutions, yeah? The solution is the only way to really get past this problem is to understand the nature of the problem. Men and women are different. They communicate differently. They use words differently. First of all, men are more direct. Women are round and round, talking about the same thing. And also, women use lots and lots of details, as well as lots and lots of words. And men will use as few words as possible, and be very, less detailed, and also straight to the point. Okay? So now there's going to be a clash between two people that communicate in different ways, and that's a man and a woman. Okay? So what are you going to do about it? We have to compromise. I don't like the word compromise. Compromise means giving up something. I don't believe in marriage you should ever give up. Even though people say compromise is the success to marriage. Yeah, but it doesn't mean you have to give up. You have to renegotiate what's best for the situation, and then that becomes the best thing. That's not a compromise. That's the best thing. Now, compromise means I lose and you lose and we're all losers, right? But we're saying we're all going to be winners because we're going to renegotiate what's best in a situation. And there too, we can learn this from Yaakov and Esau when they had an argument. The rabbis teach us what we have to do for conflict resolution, but we'll leave that for another time. First of all, okay, starting with the women, because you're the ones that have more mercy and understanding, and you're so clever and you're so wonderful, and please do this, right? You know, number one is don't be so hard on the men, okay? Don't have these expectations, because you're going to get let down. If you have these high expectations, you'll get let down by him, and he's not trying to let you down. He's not trying to make your life a misery. He's not trying to make you feel so bad. He doesn't want you to cry. So, but you have to realize how hard it is for the men, that they should never have to come to the point where they think, you know what, it's not worth it, and give up. No point. Then we're going to be happy anyway. We don't want that to happen. Okay, so how can you invest? Don't expect too much. Expect something, but don't expect too much. Don't expect him to know what you're actually saying, you know, the first time. Okay? And I said to you, would you like to spend the rest of your life being seen as the nagging wife where your husband always tunes out when you speak? No woman wants that. Right? How many men, when they talk to their friends and the wife's not there, say, oh, it's my nagging wife. Right, oh, here it is, it's the wife again. Like, it's the whole tone, the whole expression is like, here we go, it's the wife again. Right? You know, I better take a call. Oh, I'm going to be in trouble. This is going to happen, right? It's all about the school teacher, my wife, that's going to get, you know.
Not nice.
Yeah, it's not nice. And why should it be that way? Yeah. So the answer is that very much so is because that is how men are perceiving it out there in the world. So many times, right? And I'm telling you, it's possible, now this is the good side, that you can say something once, the first time, and he will get it. It is possible. Okay? But you have to work at it. Yeah.
But then even then it has to be the right time.
How do you mean?
Otherwise they still won't listen the first time.
I'm saying to you that it's possible to communicate, if you work at it really carefully, that you can say something. It takes a lot of understanding, and it might not always happen, right? But it's possible. It's possible that you can say to him, I want you to hear this carefully, blah, 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 and he'll understand it, he'll take in the information, and he'll actually go and do it. Right? Because we're not look at what causes it to work. What's stopping it from working? So I'm saying to you, because of the communication. And the communication is because it's indirect, it's too many words, there's stereotypes, and there's preconceived notions about what my wife is going to be doing to me, and therefore I tune out without realizing it. It's all wrong. Don't get me, I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying the men are all right and the women are all wrong. I'm saying on the contrary, it's a man who's failing his wife. But the problem is that it's always going to be like that unless both parties are going to be willing to try and put effort into making it easier, so it doesn't happen.
And also about tone, probably.
Everything. But I'm going to base it down to the basic reasons, right? Number one, women, right? If he's spacing out, right, understand that it's not working. Whatever you're trying to say to him is like talking to a wall, right? We don't want that to happen. We said a man should give his wife 20 minutes of attention every day, okay? So there's a certain amount that should be expected of him. But if he's reached a point where he's not doing it, then we have to understand our approach is not the right approach. Something's going wrong somewhere. And remember this. Yeah. Let's say he's a failure. Okay? And he's a failure. He's really rubbish. No good whatsoever. Right? So you say to him, why can't you just why do I have to marry? Why can't you be like me? Why can't you be like me that pays attention? Pays attention and is a good support and understands my emotions and understands me, blah, blah, blah. And you know what you're describing, women, when you do that? You're describing a man or a woman? Did you want to marry a woman or a man? What did you want to marry? When you married him, did you marry him as a man or as a woman? Did you marry, so I'm going to marry my best friend because she can really relate to me. You're going to do that, right? It's not, that's not how the question, right? You married a man and he needs to stay a man. You don't want him to, if he would become a woman, would you be happy being married to a woman, right? His own personality is that, say, oh, look at him, he's very effeminate, you know, he's that's not what you want a man, right? Because men and women are supposed to be attracted, men to women, women to men. That's not what's going on here, but we don't realise that because it feels good to communicate with somebody that understands us, right? So we're trying to change our husbands into what we enjoy spending time with, which is a woman, right? And that's not, it can't be right, okay? So you have to give him a break when it comes to this. It's not necessarily because he's tired either. Sometimes it's just because we're not using we're not engaging it in the right way. Okay. Men have to also know that women are really like that as well. And he has to be very accepting and understand that is how she is, that's who she is, and I have to play my part. I mean, we already explained how to do the attention, affection, appreciation. But in the communication, we have to make it easy for her, not make her feel silly because she did that, yeah? And because we think it's silly. Oh, you speak so much, you so many words, you're always feeling this and feeling that, and feeling that, you've always got, right? So that's putting her down. No, she's really got relationships with everything, and that everything is going to affect her, and therefore she's going to feel the pain, and the situation is much more sensitive for that reason, which is explained in the Gemara in countless different ways. Question? Okay. So let's come back again to the solution. Yeah? When a woman speaks, she should try her best to speak less words when she's talking to her husband, very direct when she's telling him what to do, and assume that he's a little child and he doesn't understand. Now, the men might feel patronized by this, right, and say, oh, you treat me like a little kid, you know, right? But then they have to accept that needs to happen when, you know, if you're trying something new for the first time, you've got to do it start very slowly and simply, and let that happen until eventually he'll accept it and he'll start showing that he can actually do it the first time. Yeah? I mean, we've analysed and thought, you know, what is it that's going on when they're talking? Why men are getting frustrated and women are getting frustrated, and then the instruction is not getting passed across to the other side and understood and processed and then being carried out. There must be some disconnect somewhere. And the disconnect is what we're describing. Because the man turns off. And he shouldn't do it, but he can't help himself. Why is he doing it? Because he's giving up. So in terms of communication, this part, which is the the actual putting across of the information to each other, right, which is usually the women complaining about the men, it's important for the women to give the men an easier time. And also I'd say you mustn't expect so much from the men. If you want to have a heart-to-heart, of course you should have a heart-to-heart with your husband. There's no question about it. But we live in a society where there's no time. There's no time for anything. So much pressure on us all the time. Now, work out, I know we don't want to do this, but we want to make it clinical, but if you work out how many minutes in a day or in a week you're going to spend with your husband, and yeah, as we're talking to the women now, it's few, it's not much. Not as much as it could have been in the olden days, okay? Where you have a woman sitting there in her rocking chair knitting for 6 hours, and the husband comes home and they sit there for hours talking to each other, and they have candles and there's no electricity. It's not like that anymore. Okay? So we don't spend time. Maybe on Shabbat we spend time if we're lucky. Yeah, and even then it's all pressure. Go to shul, come back, non-stop everything. Yeah. So it might be better to think about the conversations you want to spend with your husband, right, rather than trying to get him to understand something that if you spoke to a girlfriend about, should get you better, and you'd be able to get it off your chest, and that heart-to-heart that you want to have for 45 minutes going around in circles and all the things we've played before, and you really want that, and you're really going to enjoy that, and you want to get that from your husband, you should think again. Maybe it's best not to get that from my husband. He can support me in many, many other ways. But that which I'm craving for, to get that from him, is unrealistic, and even if it's possible, how much time and effort is it going to take from our relationship? And there's so many other important things that we have to balance. So it might make more sense to say, you know what, I'm going to bring my sister or my friend, and I'm going to talk to them for 1.5 hours, get it all off my chest. And when I speak to my husband, yeah, I speak to about something which is more, important. Plan a holiday which is coming up, or whatever. Talk about the kids and how to bring them up, and whatever it might be. What next stage in our life is buying a new house, new job, whatever. Yeah, planning the chagim. Things which are important. Yeah, be realistic about what to expect from our conversations, so that it doesn't end up being the nagging wife and the husband turning off and then failing each other in the communication. So here's a couple of examples to make our point very clear. Okay, these examples are things that were said by one party to the other, and how it was interpreted. Okay, he hears, "You're too stupid to drive alone in bad weather." She said, "Drive carefully, dear." He heard, "Your lot in life is to stop everything you're doing for my every need." And he said to her, "Honey, do you know if we have any spare AA batteries in the drawer?" Right, go get them for me now. That's what she felt, right? He heard, "I'm going to make you wish you were dead for the rest of the week." Right? She said, "Tell me the truth, hon. Do I look fat in this red dress?" Right? She heard, "Anything less than absolute perfection makes you useless as a wife and a mother." And he said, "My mum's coming round for dinner." He heard, "Honey, why don't you put your head in a vice and I'll tighten it until your skull explodes." Right? And she said, "Why don't we turn off the TV and talk for a while?" He heard, "Your right to independent thought and ability to form an opinion has now been revoked." Because she said, "I do." Okay, so that's just to make the point, lighten up a bit. But I think it's true. I'm sure you were agreeing on this, yeah? That men and women are different. We speak different languages. And to just sum up again, women speak very indirect and use lots of words. Okay, so let's go back again now. How can we avoid the scenario of a nagging wife? Okay, let's go back to this point again. Go back another level into it. If you ask women, do you want to be a nagging wife for the rest of your life? They'll say no, right? And if you ask men, is your wife nagging? Why do you think she's a nagging? They say, because she repeats things again and again and again and again, like my mum used to, and like my grandma used to. And like, all women are like that, okay? But we love them. We have to marry them. We want to be like them. But that's part of the package deal. That's what gets when you go and you buy it. That comes along with it. Okay. So imagine there's a man on a train, okay, and he's reading a newspaper, yeah, and he's Chinese, and he's like, he's quietly, and he's reading the newspaper, and minding his own business, right? And next to him is his wife, and she's going, after he goes, and she goes, have you seen that? Yeah. Doesn't have to be in Chinese, right? And what's going on over there? She's desperate to try and tell him very important things, and he just wants to read the newspaper. He's not interested, right? And he's just hearing all these words at him, charging. Quiet, leave me alone. Okay, so what's going on there? So what we said until now, all the indirect words and the details are all being, thrown at him, fired at him, right? It's just going boom, 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 boom. Okay. Okay, but what do we need to know? That really, it might be very important to listen to her because she wants to talk to you. So how can we improve this?
The 20 minutes every day.
The 20 minutes every day. I've got an example here again, of the light bulb. She asked him to change the light bulb again and again, and he didn't do anything. And that light bulb represents our marriage, and we did that a few times. Okay, so why didn't he do it the first time? Why didn't he just go and change the light bulb? Right? Because for some reason it wasn't important. It wasn't on his radar. it was important for a second because she felt my wife wants me to change. It's important to her. Of course, I care for her, but really, if he's honest with himself, there's so many more important things in the world right now that I have to do, and I don't want her to feel bad. So I'm gonna put my things first and forget about her things. If you're honest about it, if we're honest about it as men, okay, we don't really want to change a light bulb, but or we'll do it the next time we have to use that light bulb. If right now it's not needed, so okay, there's many other things to do in the world, right? I don't have to deal with that right now. That's not going to come to an end, right? This week on Friday night we're having guests and it'll look funny without the light bulb, so I'll do it, 1 minute before I go to shul on Friday night when I'm leaving the house. That's the best time to do it.
The last minute.
So I'm just telling you what goes on in my own life, right? I'm being honest, right? Now imagine at that minute there was a knock on the door, and I've got old couples living on both sides. The shul's 120, right? Both sides. Imagine the knock on the door and say, "Look, I've got this light bulb that I need to change. Rabbi Nissim, do you think you could just help me or one of your kids? I'm an old lady." I'd run to do it straight away. Immediately, no question asked. I'm going to run to go straight away. The old lady, mitzvah, what opportunity to do mitzvah. So what about my wife? What happened? How comes there, it's going to last for so long? So that it didn't register. The man, it didn't register in his head at that minute that it's the change in the light bulb is so important. Yeah, like it is for an old lady. It didn't register. So what can we do to help him make it register? What would you suggest?
Clean the ears.
You really think that's going to help?
Because otherwise they're going to be pulled,
Did he hear you?
Well, it doesn't happen in my
No,
home.
I'm saying in my example, did he hear the message? He heard it. He heard it.
Yeah.
There's no problem with hearing.
With me, he hears and he does.
But clearing it,
Okay.
clearing it is not going to change anything.
Express the importance.
Huh? Who's going to do that? Who's going to turn around and say to him, "Do you know how important that light bulb is for your relationship? Do you have any idea?" Because if you don't change it right now, you know what's going to happen. Eventually, you're going to have a marital issue, and you're going to have to discuss it for 25 hours, and it might be not, somebody might be grumpy for the next week because of it. I'll do it straight away. Right? It's worth it.
I just always change it and then have a moan.
Even if it's as negative as that, if he would even just think that, he would do it straight away. Right? But he doesn't even think that. He doesn't even think, you know what? I should just make my wife so happy right now because it's so much better. I'm going to change the light bulb anyway. If I do it now, tomorrow, next week, 1 minute before Shabbat comes in, right? I'm going to have to do it anyway. So if I do it now, I'll do it and I'll get all this street cred. Imagine what I'm going to get from her. Ego strokes, my hero, right? I want that feeling. I chose you out of 10 million men, of course, yeah. Isn't it worth doing it, right? So every man will run to go and change the light bulb if he would realise that straight away. But we don't think that. How can we help ourselves to think that? Can we design an app and put it on our phones, right? Remember to change the light bulb straight away. You get an ego stroke, and a little big ego with these two little legs saying, "Stroke me!" That's what the man wants, and he has to earn it. Okay. Another thing is she can help him. It's hard, but I'm not putting all the onus on the women, but it would definitely make a difference if she would then be the little boy with the school teacher saying, if you would change the light bulb, how happy it would make me, and I would want to give you an ego stroke, and you'd be my hero, and blah, blah, blah. He might need that a few times in the beginning till he gets, I'm telling you, and rather than, I told you to change the light bulb, and you didn't do it, and therefore you don't love me, and therefore you're not my hero, and it's all negative.
What about incentives like, okay, can watch match of the day this week?
If that works for you, then definitely.
What about when you just, as a woman, go and change it, and then you tell him nicely, how would you make him feel afterwards?
Look,
when the woman does it after, can't tell 3-4 times, and then it doesn't register. So you think, you know what, Shabbat is coming, I'm just going to change it myself, and then I do it. And it's just an example, not that it's happened, yeah. But then in a living room, we sit down and say, "Oh, you know what? That waited a long time. I did it." How does that make him feel?
It's a very, very good question. It opens up a lot of issues. Like first of all, how do you really feel about the fact that he didn't do it?